Hey, what up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Future Figuarts. This is episode number 12, and for those of you who are just joining us, I highly recommend you go and binge watch the crap out of the first 11 episodes before this one. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at another one of Universe 6's team members, a Saiyan whose name I just don't get the pun of because his characteristics aren't exactly like a cabbage. Cabba. So Cabba. Now just like Hit last episode, Cabba is another character who has a Dragon Stars representation. And I'll be honest, I went into this episode all like, oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot to change, at least with the colors, compared to the anime counterpart. But you know what? This thing is actually pretty damn accurate. Of course, Figuarts having more of a budget and with it a higher price also allows for some improvements and additions to be made regardless. Let's get into it. Now again, just like we did with Hit, I think it's only logical we start off by taking a look at what we would keep and what we would Hakai from the Dragon Stars version. Of course, since the figure is technically not out yet, this segment of the episode is going to be a little bit more limited than with Hit. So the first thing I want to mention is that the colors that they chose are actually almost all on point. Now, I want to place the focus on the body armor because it's pretty safe to assume that Tamashii will choose the right colors for the black base form hair, flesh tone, as well as the Super Saiyan hair. So the first color I'd like to address is the blue undershirt. Based on the anime, this blue should be without a doubt pretty similar to Vegeta's. However, it seems more flat in terms of less shading being present. But perhaps that's just because he's less muscular overall than Vegeta as well. Nonetheless, look at this comparison here. From what I can see, it looks like they actually picked a pretty good shade of blue for this. The next portion I'd like to address is the chest armor and the straps for said armor. Now based on this shot here, it looks almost like it has somewhat of a more metallic sheen to it, and I'm assuming that Dragon Stars based majority, if not all of the figure's appearance on how Cabba looked in the Universe 6 arc. Now looking at the figure again, it actually looks like they got this detail too. Now for the straps, I'm going to go ahead and say they again got the color right. I think it's more just a matter of the kind of paint not doing the color justice in this regard. Now making our way downtown faster than Vanessa Carlton after a few beers, we got the flaps stemming off the rest of the armor. Now this is the first area where I think I'd make some minor adjustments. While the color is in the right area, I think it needs a little less saturation to it. And while I get that this Dragon Stars figure may have a different sort of scheme, I'd like to think that for the money we pay for Figuarts, they can get the paint a little bit more accurate to the source material, right? And just one more thing about the flap parts, I would like to see the Figuarts version feature flaps on the armor that are slightly wider. Wide enough to cover the hip joint so it's not visible, as I think this takes away from the figure and kind of makes Cabba not only look like he's the lankiest mofo ever, but just couldn't find the right size clothes in the morning. Now the same sort of point could be made for his boots and the guards around his shins and forearms. I would expect a slightly truer gold hue in the guards, and then for the boots, they should match the flap part of the armor, which Dragon Stars actually did here, so points to them for that. I think something extra Tamashii could do to give the Figuarts version an extra bit of oomph is to pick sort of a leathery brown for Cabba's wrist guards as well as his belt, as well as a softer plastic. This would just make the figure seem that much more, I don't know, authentic for a lack of a better term, and really give it a cool edge aesthetically. Okay, so the next thing I want to discuss is the head sculpt. Now I actually do like what Dragon Stars has done here. Not only is this at very least a different sort of Super Saiyan hair than we've seen before, I don't know if it's just because it's a Dragon Stars, and it probably is, but I think something looks slightly off about what we'd expect to see compared to faces like Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, etc. And I think this actually works out in Cabba's favor because of course he's from a slightly different evolved form of Saiyans from Universe 6. And I think what's noticeable about these Saiyans is the eyes and smaller sort of facial features compared to the Universe 7 Saiyans, so great job here, Dragon Stars. Okay, so in terms of his proportions, they seem alright. From what we know and what we can see, Cabba is supposed to be a lot scrawnier than his Universe 7 counterparts, and no doubt this is what we see here. Now I do wonder, will Tamashii add any muscle definition at all to Cabba's sculpt? Now I don't mean a ton like Goku or Vegeta, but it'd be interesting to see what creative liberties they take, if any, concerning Cabba's physical features. I mean, based on the figures we have now, it's a little hard to imagine a straight up stick figure for a Saiyan, but I guess the closest figures we'd have now to Cabba's physique are the androids. For his actual scale now, Cabba is of course considerably smaller than Goku and even Vegeta. I mean, we're almost talking preteen levels here. Although we don't really know how old Cabba is now, do we? But I know in the English dub, Vegeta does call Cabba kid. Anyway, based on his appearance in the anime, I say Cabba should be around Frieza's height or somewhere around Teen Gohan's height in the Figuarts form. which personally I'm always a bit hesitant when I see smaller figures, because if he doesn't come with a decent amount of faces, hands, and accessories, I'm gonna feel like I'm paying more for less here. Speaking of which, although Cabba does go Super Saiyan 2, it doesn't look that much different from the little artwork we do have over his Super Saiyan 1. And while the same could be said for Vegeta, I guess, we do get a lot more screen time with Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, so I can't see Tamashii including both Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 head sculpts on this one. Alrighty, so faces. Now, disagree here with me if you'd like, but I think Cabba should come with more Super Saiyan faces than base form. I mean, the only faces other than the usual stern face I can see having any sort of meaning in base form with Cabba are maybe an angrier face for when he was about to transform after Vegeta threatened his family, and maybe a scared sort of face from being intimidated by Caulifla as some sort of wacky fan service. I do think that a kind of happier looking face would suit Cabba though, as when he first meets Goku and Vegeta, while he isn't actually smiling, he isn't all like, "Me no say anything until fight like Jiren." But with Cabba, I think the first faceplate that is a must is some sort of rage face indicative of him transforming. I mean, granted, this was the start of a Super Saiyan bargain sale number 2, but still a very iconic moment in Super nonetheless, and I can't imagine Tamashii foregoing this one. And sort of touching on a point about Cabba achieving Super Saiyan 2, he was pretty angry during this as well. I doubt he was concentrating on that tingly feeling in his back on either of these transformations. Now the next face I think would be cool for Cabba is a sort of amaze/shocked face that he makes when he first sees Vegeta go Super Saiyan Blue. Now I'd really be surprised if Tamashii dedicated a whole face slot for this, but I guess after that bonus head we got with 18 for kissing Krillin, anything's possible. Okay, so we've covered the angrier side of things, but aside from a stern face and the usual powering up/screaming face, what else do you guys think would be a must in terms of faceplates? Spoiler alert, it sucked that we haven't gotten a Planet Sadala arc with a bit more character development for the Universe 6 Saiyans, but maybe we'll get that in a future episode when Dragon Ball franchise returns to the airwaves. So for Cabba's hands, I can see him coming with your standard fists, energy blast hands, and grabbing sort of martial arts hands, and I think he should also come with the other variation of martial arts hands in which the fingers are slightly more bent as well, as this would help in recreating the Gallic gun sort of pose he does when he first fights Vegeta, as well as Vegeta's fighting stance. So what accessories unique to Cabba could this figure possibly come with? I mean, he doesn't exactly use any key items throughout his appearances, so that's kinda out the window. And he doesn't exactly show any signature moves other than the Gallic gun sort of attack he first shows against Vegeta. And he really doesn't have a gimmick like Hit in his time skip other than maybe back tingling. So what's left? I mean, to be honest guys, if a Figuarts figure did come with gimmicks like Cabba's, we would probably have a little button you could press that made him light up while he's transforming. But we'll leave that to Burger King. I think if I had to pick something, it'd probably be some sort of energy blast effect part. I really wish there was something I could go to for this, but maybe I'm missing something. Am I? So Cabba. Yet another Saiyan we'll probably see later on down the line in Figuarts form. Personally, I'd be surprised if we saw him released earlier than fall 2019, but we might see a prototype before then, who knows. I haven't gotten any Dragon Stars figures yet, and I'm actually considering Cabba for the time being. Are you planning to get the Dragon Stars Cabba? How much do you think a Figuarts version should cost? Now on the note of upcoming episodes, I'd kinda like to cover some other characters that aren't Saiyans just to avoid that Super Saiyan fatigue. But I do get there's a lot of you guys who just love discussing your favorite characters. So I'll probably post another poll for you guys to pick who's featured in upcoming episodes. Till then, you know what I always say. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Peace.